So whilst one's doing slightly better, the YouTube channel has sort of fallen down the priorities list. So long story short, I'm back again. At the back you can see as well, it's like my little hunchback there where the orange is, it's just a little bit baggy. So yeah, it's sweater season, which is very exciting. So I love this time of year. I love autumn because of the abundance of sort of hedgerow fruits and free fruits. So now on to the knitting, which is what you're probably here for, not my ramblings. So hi everybody, I'm having to record this little voiceover because I forgot to mention a few things. So I know last time we said about a knit along. Well, I haven't had time to sort of deal with that, so put it on hold. We'll definitely do it, but we'll do it after Christmas. So in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this next episode, and don't forget to like, share and comment so that lots of people can find it and learn about vintage knitting too. Okay, see you a bit, bye! So hello everybody, it has been a while since I've been podcasting. I've just had a really busy August, so my boss is bringing out a new book. So working in marketing, there's obviously been a lot of promo work and sort of sorting out leaflets and all those sorts of things, so work has been quite full on. I've also been updating my Etsy shop a little bit more. So I have an Etsy shop with vintage patterns on, and I sort of set it up about a year ago, and then kind of I've been ignoring it for about a year, just because of time and effort. So I actually in August made myself sit down, scan in some new patterns and make them into PDFs to sell. And I've actually been trying to upload sort of 1, 2, 3 patterns a week, and actually it's paying off. So who would have thought that actually paying some attention to my Etsy shop might encourage sales? And I've had probably more sales in the past few days or few weeks than I have for the past year, so it's been working, but it's a long process. So for those of you who aren't sort of, so it's been a long process, but it takes quite a while to upload to Etsy. So what I do is I scan the pattern into my computer, which I have to do on my old computer because it's got the programs that I use on that computer, and I'd have on my new computer I'd have to pay again to get those programs, so that's not going to happen. So I have to use my old computer, which is a lot slower, so it takes a little bit longer to do things because I have to wait for it to sort of start up and load properly, which takes ages. So that takes time. So I then have to scan it in via my printer scanner, which doesn't actually take too long. I could do that quite quickly, but like page by page by page, which that can take a bit of time if it's like a whole booklet of patterns. Then after that, I go into InDesign and put all the pattern pages into one document so it reads coherently, and do like a front cover and make it just look a little prettier than just the old pattern, because they're not very colourful old patterns, are they? So that takes a little bit of time. That's not as bad now that I've got like a template set up, so I can literally just import the images from a file, which doesn't take very long. Then I have to turn it into a PDF, so that doesn't take too long, but again it's another process. And then the bit that takes the most time is uploading it to Etsy. So the first thing I have to do is make the thumbnail for Etsy, which is in landscape, and as you probably know, most vintage patterns are in portrait, so trying to get that portrait pattern into a format that looks so that on first glance you can see the whole pattern, that takes time. So I have to put it into Photoshop and make sure it looks right, and you can see all the details. So that takes time, and then by that point I've usually forgotten to put my watermark on my pattern, so I have to go back into the pattern, redo it with the watermarks, and then save it all again. And then the final bit that I have to do is, oh, and also the images I have to also make Instagram friendly, because Instagram is square. So again, most of the patterns are in portrait, so it will crop the pattern weirdly. So I have to put it into a square that makes it look so you can see all the details again on first glance. So that takes time. Then I have to upload those all to iCloud so that I can then do it on Instagram on my phone. So there's a lot of processes in it. And then the final thing is uploading it all onto Etsy and creating a page, writing the description, making sure it's in the right category, making sure all the images are right, that they've all got their copyright mark on them, and then optimize it for SEO so that you can actually find it on a search engine in Etsy. So that is the bit that takes the time, making sure the images look proper on a computer screen and on Instagram as well. And then create a reel for Instagram as well, because they love reels at the moment. So that's why it has taken me so long to do new patterns on my Etsy shop, because I work as well. So it's very difficult to find the time and the energy to sit down and actually like input all these patterns. So I think it was at the beginning of August, I actually sat down and of the knitting pattern, the vintage knitting patterns I have, I just sat and for the whole day just scanned all of them in and put them into separate folders for each pattern, so that when I feel like uploading a pattern, I just have it all ready to go and I can just put it into my template and then do all the Etsy stuff. So I'm getting a little bit more organised, but it has meant that I have rather neglected my YouTube channel. So whilst one's doing slightly better, the YouTube channel has sort of fallen down the priorities list. So long story short, I'm back again. Hopefully during September and October I might be able to do a little bit more podcasting. But I do find that people who podcast every single week, how do they do it? Because there's the Happy Knitting podcast. She has a toddler, and I don't know how she does it all. Like she uploads every week a new episode, and like I couldn't do that. So I don't have that kind of energy reserve. So that's why, like, whilst my Etsy shops are doing slightly better with that, my YouTube channel kind of took a back seat, because obviously I have to work to get money to buy lots of yarn. So that does mean today might be quite a long episode, which I guess is a good thing. There's lots to pack in, and I keep finding things that I'd forgotten that I've got since the last episode I recorded. So hopefully I won't forget everything. I've got a list written down so I don't forget to mention most things. So yeah, shall we get into it? So it's now officially sweater season. We are in September. It is September the 16th. Oh, and that's another thing. My mum is currently in hospital. She had an operation today. We got a phone in about 1 o'clock. What's the time? It's 12:20 to see how she is. But the other thing I had to do is I had to organise a cleaner for my mum and dad, because my mum's not allowed to lift or stretch for 8 weeks, I think it is, after her op. So I've had to source a cleaner for her and get them to come in and do like an initial kind of look around and see how much it's going to cost. And it's just taken time and effort for that as well. So that's another thing that's been keeping me busy. But she's fine, by the way. It's like a routine op. It's nothing serious. But yes, it's meant that I've been extra busy, sort of juggling lots of balls. But it does mean that I have quite a lot to show you. So yeah, it's sweater season, which is very exciting. So I love this time of year. I love autumn because of the abundance of sort of hedgerow fruits and free fruits. So I have some things to show you that I have been doing whilst I've been away and not YouTubing. So my absolute favourite thing to make this time of year is Rosehip syrup. So this was first sort of popularised during World War II as a way to get vitamin C into kids, because we didn't have the imports of like oranges and things like that, citrus fruits, during World War II. But we do have an abundance of rosehips in hedgerows. So this was all free, this rosehip the Rosehips that I used in this, which that just makes it even better, doesn't it, that it's free. So I went to River Cottage this time last year and did a autumn foraging course, and one of the things we learned to make was rosehip syrup, and it's absolutely delicious. So I tend to use this on my breakfast in the morning. So I'll have like a breakfast of Greek yogurt, and I'll put oats on it, chia seeds, some fruit like raspberries or blueberries, that sort of thing, and then some almonds. And then like a little drizzle of this just gives it a little sweet hint. It is very sweet, by the way. It's probably not the best for sugar in that way, but yeah, it's full of vitamin C. So I put a little drizzle over my breakfast and get my vitamin C dose. And vitamin C, for those of you who don't know, is it's a helper if you're iron deficient, which I am. If you take your iron supplement with vitamin C, it helps the absorption of the iron. So top tip there. But it's very yummy. And the guy that we tried his rosehip syrup on the course, he put it with, he put like in a shot glass, a little shot of this, and then a little bit of rose petal vodka. It was really good. So it's good for cocktails as well, if you drink, that is. But yeah, and I've also been foraging for lots of blackberries. So I've been making lots of blackberry cakes. So I did a cake that was blackberry and apple cake with like a cinnamon crumble on top, which was really yummy. That was from BBC Good Food, and I'll put a link to the recipe in the comments because it was yummy. But I also like this recipe, which I did change the recipe because I didn't have the ingredients for the base. It's supposed to have like a digestive biscuit base that you mix with butter and then let it set, and then you put this like frangipane on top. But it's an almond and blackberry cake, and it's not too sweet, which is nice. And the thing about it that's amazing is that you brown the butter. So you basically burn the butter so it goes all nutty and yummy, and that's what makes it like extra yummy. And you mix it with ground almonds, and it, I guess, like, could that be like, it could be health food because it's got fruit, and almonds are good for you, aren't they? So, but it's really, really yummy. So I will pop the recipe for that one as well. See the almonds on top. But this is a particularly yummy recipe with all the free blackberries on the bushes. So that's what I've been up to. I've been doing lots of cooking. I also at River Cottage did a cheese making course last week. Not this Sunday gone, but the one before. And it was amazing. So we made 3 different types of cheese. The first one we made was, it's called Tom, and it's an Alpine style cheese. And that is currently waiting to go into my shed to mature. So it was the only cheese that wasn't ready on the day. And then we made paneer. So that was really yummy. I've never actually eaten paneer before, but it was very much like halloumi. It's quite salty, and it didn't quite have the same squeakiness of halloumi, but still very nice. And then the third cheese we made mozzarella, but we made it the quick way. So I think the Italians will sort of hate us for it, but I think the proper way to make mozzarella, the proper way to make mozzarella is it takes a whole day to make, which obviously we didn't have on this course that we did 3 cheeses on. So we did the quick method, which speeds up the process. So it takes probably like a couple of hours to make, and it was really, really good. And it was good fun to do. So those of you who don't know what River Cottage is, it's like a organic-y kind of very hipster, very millennial type of place, and it's run by a guy called Hugh Fernley Whittingstall, and he does a lot of cooking programs on the TV, and he also does a lot of campaigning for like sustainable foods. So he did a campaign on sustainable fishing because where we are situated in the world, we're very overfished our waters. So he does a lot of good, and I love his recipes because they tend to be quite like use a lot of fresh vegetables, and they're quite, well, I wouldn't say they're healthy because we had dauphinoise potatoes and that's definitely not a health dish, is it? But yeah, his food's quite fresh and seems fairly healthy. And I've got a couple of his books, but yeah, I'll pop his details, River Cottage details, but they do like things like foraging courses. They've got a cookery school there, so you can go and learn to cook all sorts of things. Like, I've just had an email for their Christmas schedule, and there's things like Christmas pastry, Christmas breads. There was Christmas veg, I think, which I might sign up to, I'm not sure. Just like heroing vegetables as like side dishes for Christmas, which sounds quite good. And then they also do things like sourdough courses and all that sort of thing. So it's all very sort of earthy and natural, the kind of things they do. Right up my street. But anyway, that's enough of what I've been up to. I've also, my tea today, I had to tell you about because it's so yummy. So I'm not actually that much of a fruit tea drinker. I tend to be just like your normal teas, your normal black teas. But I tried from this tea company, apple cider bobbing tea, and I really like this. So it is, it's sumac berries, apple pieces, rosehip, hibiscus, freeze-dried apple, allspice berry, cinnamon, fermented lemon peel, and natural flavouring. And it's really yummy. It's not too sweet. It's got that sort of appley taste, and it's cinnamony. And it's like it's like drinking apple pie. It's just so sort of autumnal and yummy. Have a little sip. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like America to me, which sounds a weird thing to say. But I had a friend in primary school who was American. She'd just come over from America. I think we were about 8 years old. And her house always smelled like America, like cinnamon and yummy appley spiced things. So I always sort of associate that that smell with America for some reason. Don't ask me why. But yeah, it's a really good tea if you want to try apple cider bobbing tea. I've got back into tea at the moment. I've also tried their oolong chai tea. So it's a lapsang, no, not oolong, lapsang souchong chai tea. So it's like the smoky lapsang souchong tea, but it's got like spices in it as well. So again, it's like that autumnal kind of cinnamon flavours, but with smoky oolong as well. And that one, that just tastes of like bonfire night to me. It's just I love that kind of savoury flavour of tea. So that's one you might want to try for them. But they do all sorts of weird and wonderful teas. Bird and Blend, not sponsored, just like them. Yeah, they do like matcha teas, and like they do some weird ones like birthday cake flavour tea, which I don't think, that's not my thing at all. Like sweet teas like that, yes. And I think I've had their pumpkin spice tea, and I didn't like that because that was too sweet for me. Yeah, I think was it last year, I think it was, that I had, it was their Halloween advent calendar. So it was a tea advent calendar, countdown to Halloween. I think it was 13 days, and you get a little tea surprise every day. So that's a really nice way to like try different teas, and you're not committed to like a whole bag of it if you don't like it. So yeah, that's that out of the way. So now on to the knitting, which is what you're probably here for, not my ramblings. So as I said, sweater season, very exciting. I have finished my Halloween sweater, which I'm very excited about. So I would have worn this, but it's a bit warm today. Look how amazing it is. I mean, I haven't woven in any of my ends, so don't look too closely. But isn't this just the most gorgeous jumper? I just love it. Look at the little ghosties on the sleeve. That's so cute. Oh, I'm so excited about this sweater. It's so nice and warm. This wool from Susan Crawford is just so beautiful to work with. It's so easy to work with, and because it's double knit, it knits up like really, really quickly. And I've got quite a bit left over actually, so I'm hoping somehow to make a matching dog sweater for my dog using the skeletons and like this bit. So I've got to work out how many skeletons will fit around my dog so I can make him a little matching sweater. Oh, that's another thing I was going to tell you about. My dogs turned 15 yesterday actually. I made a little doggy birthday cake for them. So I'll put up a little video saying happy birthday to them with my parents. And yeah, it's lovely. They're just so sweet that they're 15 and like one's blind and deaf and the other one's got a heart condition, but they're still going strong. And I found some of their baby pictures as well, which I'll put a little montage up of, because oh my god, they were so cute. They were little squidgy little puppies. No, don't eat it just yet.
Oh, you're burning your nose, Tess. Frank.
That's fun. Got to sing happy birthdays to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Frankie and Tessie. Happy birthday to you. I'll blow the candles out for you. Make a big wish, puppies.
Is it recording or?
Yeah.
It's recording.
There we go. There we go, puppies. Now you can have some.
Oh, she's finished. Are they soft or something?
Ow, that's
just
my
the ordinary ones from
okay. Nom 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 nom. Now you can have a slice of cake with your dinners. Love. There you go.
Do you want me to stop?
Yeah. I want them to be that small again. But anyway, back to Halloween sweater. I just love this. Like it's one of those things where everything came together. Now I did have a slight panic halfway through. So I got to the end of the colour work and I panicked because I think I mentioned last time or the time before when I started it, I didn't get gauge on this and was too impatient to sit and work it out, so I just started it. So my row count was a little bit off, as well as my stitch count, so I had to just hope and pray that it was going to work basically. But I had a panic because I was merrily doing the colour work, because this was like my favourite bit. I love doing this. Once you get into it, you can just sit for hours just wanting to get to the next bit so it reveals the pattern. But what it did mean is I didn't read the pattern, and so I got to the end of the colour work and I thought, oh crap, what if I was supposed to have split for the sleeves earlier? Turns out you weren't meant to. You were meant to do the whole of the colour work and then you split. I think there was supposed to be 6 rows before you split for the underarms. I, however, when I'd finished it, there was no way in hell I was going to rip it back. But it does mean I probably could have started to split for the shoulders, for the underarm a little bit higher up, because that row and stitch gauge was out. So that's something for you to bear in mind if you knit this and don't get gauge, which is why gauge is so important, guys. That's why you have to do the gauge swatch. Another thing, I only did the gauge swatch in the orange, so I knit tighter in Fair Isle than I do in stocking stitch, so that again changed the gauge. I can't remember, I must have got too many rows, too many rows than the gauge swatch was meant to have, and that's why it's kind of a little bit long. So when I put it on, which I'll do in a minute, it's a little bit like the underarm's not quite in the right place, which matters when you have a yoked pattern, because there's no way of avoiding, like, what am I trying to say? So the gauge matters when you have a yoked pattern, because usually the yoke, the pattern will stop right by the underarm, or above where the underarm, you split off of the underarm, so that you don't have that awkward, like, half your pattern coming halfway down your arm, and so your arms are a bit like, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So that's the only sort of problem with this. And also, where I changed from the orange to the colour work, you can see there's like a little bump up here, and that's where there's also an increase row, but it's also because I knit tighter in the Fair Isle. Probably, I mean, this was where I just started, so I didn't have the hang of the pattern yet, or the tension, should I say, of the colour work, so it is a lot tighter. Like, I did loosen up a bit as I progressed the pattern. It does mean that it's got this weird, like, shoulder humps, if you can see that. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get rid of that. It's better than it was. I have blocked it. It's better than it was, but it's still not like 100%. It's still got that kind of weird hunch. So I'll show you when I put it on. Let me do that. I'll take this off so you can hear the rusting. Hope you can hear me still. I'll just pop it on. Hang on. So as you can see, I'll get my hair out of the way, like, it rides up because of that colour work coming down a little bit too low. Like, it's not a problem, because I like to, like, go like this and okay, anyway. Sorry, I keep forgetting about bashing my mic. But as you can see, it's like a little bit loose up here, and I don't quite know how to shrink it. Like, I suppose one way could be to unravel this bit, rejoin and re-knit it. That would be an awful faff, wouldn't it? But that might, like, knit it really, really tight so that it matches the tightness of the colour work tension. So I could do that. If anybody has any ideas how to, like, get rid of my humps, my lovely lady humps here, then let me know if you've had that problem, because it occurred to me that you would get that problem of, like, little bulges where the increase rows are. I have done a top down pattern before, my bright pink one, that was a Elise Taylor pattern, and I didn't have that problem with it, but it was a thinner yarn, so it was it handled very differently to this British yarn, which is a lot stiffer, and it makes more of a stiffer fabric, I guess you could say. Hang on a sec. See, it rides up if I do anything like that. So this is a, like, watching TV jumper where I don't move my arms around. I just have to keep pulling it down. I guess at the back you can see as well, it's like my little hunchback there where the orange is, it's just a little bit baggy. So maybe that is an idea, to undo it and re-knit it, but really, really tightly so it doesn't hunch like that. But despite all of its problems, I really love it. It's really nice and warm. This is going to be so lovely if it ever gets cold. Because last winter was quite mild and wet, so I didn't really get to wear many of my woolly jumpers. But hopefully this year we'll have a slightly more wintry winter. So yeah, love this yarn, love this design. But the execution of it, which was probably my fault, not the pattern's fault, is a little bit dodgy, but I love it anyway. So that's my first finished knit. So I'll take this off because it is actually quite hot today. Sort myself out. There we go. It's one of those days, obviously. Okay, so the second thing, I think, yeah, I'd got my paint box cotton yarn package through the post, and very excitedly opened it last time, I think. I have since bought more because why wouldn't you? It's really, really cheap, and it's just tick off what I've mentioned first. There we go. So yeah, the cotton yarns are really cheap, and they do every now and again do like mass sales, so you can pick it up even cheaper, which is great. But I have been working on a project that I saw ages and ages ago. I can't even remember where I saw it, but I saw a crochet shopping bag. So I'm making crochet shopping bags, like normal ones, for my friends for Christmas. But I saw a crochet baguette bag, shopping bag, and it's genius. But you can only buy the already crocheted baguette bag. I'll put a link. So I have been self-drafting a baguette bag pattern so that I can crochet these for my friends, because we were all like, wow, that's amazing. So this is my first prototype. So it goes on. Just try and think how, like this. So you wear it over the shoulders, and you have your like French sticks sticking in there. How cool is that? So this is my first attempt, which was okay. I've got some pictures which I'll pop in at the end of this bit, but it's quite loose at the top, so I think what I could have done is like joined two little sections together. I put a double crochet, single crochet, yeah, double crochet in British and single crochet in American into each stitch around the top of it. So what I could do is like join some of the stitches together so that it's not quite so big at the top, but that does allow for different thicknesses of baguettes because they aren't all standard in supermarkets. But yeah, and I did a two-tone, so I've got some really funky colours that I can make these. So it's also quite a baggy one, so I can probably take a row of increases out so it's just a little bit tighter, because, you know, with the nature of crochet it does stretch. So when you've got a baguette in it, it can afford to be a little bit smaller, I guess. But I thought I had to show you this because it's just genius, isn't it? So whoever invented that, well done. I'm going to be making those. And they're nice and quick to make. So moving on from my Halloween sweater, I started a new project. Ooh, I should probably go and get the book for that actually to show you it. So I bought this book quite a while ago. So it's the Timeless Tyrolean Knitwear. So I follow this lady on Instagram. I'll put her details down below, obviously. And she brought out this book, I think it's over a year ago now. There's so many beautiful designs in here. Oh, what do you know? I've opened it on the page that I wanted. So this is what I'm knitting next. So I'm going to do a mini book review, but only a small one. So what I have noticed with this book is it's basically just a straight copy of the vintage pattern, just written out a little bit bigger, I guess. The design I chose, it's only written in one size. So this was for a 34-inch bust, which I am smaller than. So if you're 34-inch bust, this pattern is great for you. If you're not, you have to figure out how to size it up or down for yourself. So I had to size it down. So that's my only criticism of this book. I had to use my brain, which I don't like doing. And also the gauge, it had 28 stitches to 4 centimetres. 4 centimetres. That's not right. That must be a typo. It's 28 stitches to 4 inches. So what's that per inch? Is that 7 stitches per inch? Which I usually get with 4-ply anyway on 3.25mm needles. But what it doesn't say is it doesn't say the row gauge. So that is another tiny criticism. So it's a little bit of, you just have to follow the pattern and hope it works, which is great if you're like a standard size. But if you have maybe a longer body or a shorter body, you might want to work up your own gauge swatch so you can accurately gauge like if it's going to work for you or not, basically. So that's my only criticism, is it's because it's a vintage pattern, it's a bit loose with details, which is always fun, isn't it? So, but the great thing about this book is, well, firstly, like the scoring system. So this means one Tyrolean hat this is an easy pattern to do. The one that I am working on is 3 Tyrolean hats. So I think that's the most difficult. It's another 3 hatter. But they are absolutely beautiful, all these jumpers, and it's, you know, I haven't seen anything like it been done before, so it's just beautiful. The photography and everything in here, and like the embroidery, she goes into detail in how to do the embroideries and, you know, how to follow a chart and things like that. The embroidery chart, that is. And at the front, it's got like a mini kind of history almost of Tyrolean knits, which is really, really interesting. I love that kind of the history of it and how they came about. And look at all these yummy pictures of the vintage patterns. So I do recommend it in that regard. It's like a beautiful reference book. It's a beautiful like a coffee table book, and the photography and history is just amazing. It's got things like caring for vintage yarns and breakdown of different vintage yarns and what that means for modern, and like modern substitutes for that kind of thing. So it's a great book in that regards. But from this one pattern that I've been following, I mean, I haven't looked at the other patterns to see if they're exactly the same. But there is no chart for the stitches, so it's all written instructions. So if you do things visually, if you prefer to do your knitting patterns through visual charts, you might struggle, as it's all just written. And the particular pattern I had, has no finished measurements of the garment. So when I had to work out how many stitches to cast on for my particular size, I didn't know how much positive or negative beads that they'd used on the original pattern. Again, it's basically like following a vintage pattern. You're going to come across all the problems that you do with vintage patterns, in that they can sometimes be a bit loose on details, so you have to kind of just go with it. But if you look at this pattern, that one for instance does have like final measurements of pieces, so it's just I was unlucky with the pattern that I chose that didn't have much detail on the original pattern, I guess. But again, she's got clear pictures for some of the designs, so you can work out. What I'm saying is this is not a beginner's book. You have to have, I think with Tyrolean knits anyway, they're not beginners, they're not beginner friendly patterns. You have to have some kind of level of knowledge to be able to knit these, and again, when you're working with vintage patterns, that it's that way for that as well, isn't it? They're not friendly for beginners because they don't always have all the details that modern patterns do. Like for instance, Susan Crawford, her patterns are all have charts, have all the measurements, and she's taken the time to sit down and work it out, and so you've got the different instructions for different sizes. This one very much seems to be just true to the original pattern, so if you're not the original pattern size, that might be a problem. And if you don't know how to create to your own size, to knit to your own size, then you might have problems. But those are all things you can learn, my people, especially if you are part of Squid School of Vintage Knitting. So it's a great book. I love it. I love the look at that embroidery. Oops, how beautiful is that? It's just so cute. So it's a beautiful, beautiful book, but just bear in mind that if you are a beginner, you might struggle. See, this is interesting. This is a Intarsia one, and that's got one hat. I wouldn't say Intarsia is easy, so I'd say I would have put this at 2 hats, because I'd say beginners would struggle with Intarsia, because I do, and I've been knitting a while, and I struggle with Intarsia, getting the right tension and making it look neat and pretty. But yeah, you see, I do want to knit this one because I love it, but I hate Intarsia. Maybe I could do like duplicate stitch instead. That might work. Yes, that's a good point. Oh look, this has a Intarsia chart for the colourwork, so it very much depends which pattern you choose out of this book as to how detailed the instructions are. But again, it's just beautiful photography, everything, like all the different techniques for decoration for the Tyrolean knits are all really well written, really well photographed, so you can work out what's going on. Oh, look at this one. Look at that. That's beautiful. Oh, there's so many I want to knit from this book. But yeah, like I said, bear in mind, if you are a beginner, it's probably going to challenge you quite a bit. But I'd say give it a go. I think anyone can have a go at these kind of things. That one's a cute one as well. I want to knit that one. So it hasn't put me off not having like as clear instructions as some other books, but that's the book if you'd like to get it, by Linda Ivell, and I'll pop her Instagram account in as well, because she's always knitting beautiful things on her Instagram account. So yes, I have started, I think it's called the Annie cardigan. Let's have a look. Where is it? Yeah, Annie's jacket, not cardigan. And that's one thing I was, excuse me, I was going to say actually. Oh, I've got dry throat. I've been talking too much. It's quite a structured cardigan. So I was going to say it's more of a jacket rather than like a cardigan, but you could wear it as a cardigan, I guess. I'm going to. But it's absolutely beautiful. Let me look at that. Look at that photography. Oh, and look at the back of it. The back is just as beautiful. I don't know if I'm holding it up properly. The back is just as beautiful, isn't it? Now, it's going to take quite a while to do all that embroidery and vetting afterwards. So I have started it, and I've got quite a way because it's been quite a while since we last spoke. So I have changed to knitting it in the round. So it's in the pattern, it is written for knitting flat, and then you seam the pieces together, which again is a very vintage way of doing things. I am lazy and find it much quicker to do it in the round. And I have got as far as the first side that I'm knitting up, done the armhole splits and the armhole shaping, and I'm just about to start doing the neck decreases to make a lovely neckline. So that's the front that I've done, and then the rest is just like below the arms, the back and the front. So I've got quite a long way, and this is very reminiscent of my the green jumper that I did, where I thought I was going to run out of yarn. It was an UK alpaca pattern, like a modern pattern, but I think I said at the time that it's got a very Tyrolean look to it. So this is quite a similar pattern that I did on that one. The only thing that is slightly annoying is that because the pattern isn't converted to be in the round, I had to figure it out, and so that means these increases at the side seams where the pattern is, it's never going to look absolutely beautiful because the pattern obviously has a certain amount of stitches, so it looks a little odd at the sides, but I think that's hidden sort of under your arms anyway, so it doesn't bother me. So if you are going to knit it in the round, you might want to take more time to try and figure out how to do the increases without interrupting the pattern, which I think that's pretty much going to be impossible, isn't it? I don't know. I have to ask Susan Crawford how she does hers to make it like a seamless pattern around. She's much cleverer than I am, obviously, at doing those kind of things. So that's the one sort of niggle with the sides, but again, I don't think, like, nobody's going to be looking that closely at it. And also, you're going to be, or I'm going to be embroidering in some of these diamonds. So where these extra big diamonds are, where the pattern doesn't quite meet, you're probably not going to see it anyway, if the pattern's going to distract from any gaps there might be. But yeah, it's really quick knit, it's really beautiful. I love the technique, love the look of it, and also I am using my Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn that I bought ages ago, and I had this project in mind when I bought this yarn. I just haven't got around to doing it until now. So this is the colour, is it Rose Petals, in their luxury 4-ply. Absolutely beautiful, and it is a similar colour to the one that the designer used. It has this like slightly more pastel pink, like more Barbie pink, I'd say. This is like your old rose kind of colour, which, as you can tell, I love. But I did get the recommended green yarn, so if you can see, it's quite different in person than to the book, and I like it much more in person. I was a little bit worried that this green I wasn't going to like, because it looks quite bright, shall we say, on this. Actually, it's a lot more muted. So this, oh, if I just hit there, this is Merino Blend King Cole 4-ply super washable. So, and this was really good value. Wasn't very expensive at all. And I only needed the one ball, so it probably came out a bit more expensive with the postage that I had to pay. But I think it was only a couple of pounds, £4 or £5 maybe at the most. And you only need the one 50-gram ball. So that is just for the button band, and then you do a line of crochet around the bottom and around the neck. And then I'm guessing she used it also for the embroidery, the leaves on the embroidery. Makes sense, doesn't it? But yeah, they're so cute, the little flowers. Aren't they gorgeous? I think that's just a beautiful design. And it's deservedly on the front cover. And look at these sleeves. Look how puffy they are. They're going to be fab to do, aren't they? Can't wait to do those, even though they're stocking stitch. I might do 2 at a time sleeves for these because, you know, I might lose the will to live with all that stocking stitch or 4-ply. But yeah, so I'm really pleased with how it's going actually, and it's going quite quickly. And now I'm on the split for the fronts and the back. It's going even more quickly because I've only got, you know, this many stitches rather than going the whole way round. So I shall let you know how that goes. But I'm really enjoying that, and I'm going to really enjoy doing the embroidery part as well. I've done embroidery on knitting before. I made a blanket for a lady that I lived with briefly. I went back to college 6 years ago to study wine. It's a real course. You get to drink wine all the time. And whilst I was buying a flat, my contract hadn't gone through, so I went and stayed with, now this is a convoluted link, but she is the sister of my godfather. So she's kind of like a godmother, but not really. But yeah, she let me stay with her for about six or 8 weeks, I think it was in the end. And as a present, I knitted the blanket for her and gave it to her when I left. So I don't actually have any pictures of the finished blanket, I don't think, but it was the Debbie Bliss knit along. I didn't use Debbie Bliss yarn because that would have been horrendously expensive. But it was, oh God, it was quite a while ago. She used to do like knit alongs that like lots of shops took part in. Does she still do those? I don't know. But yeah, I'll pop a picture up of what it should have looked like. It was a really pretty pattern, but I really enjoyed doing the little embroideries, like doing like lazy daisy stitches to make little flowers. So I know I'm going to really enjoy doing that for this one. So that's that knit. Is that everything? Oh no. How could I say that? Is that everything? Of course it's not. I've got lots here to show you. So back to my online Etsy shop. So I have been paying a little more attention to it, as I said, but it means that I have actually been buying lots of patterns as well. So I've probably like spent more money than I've actually made on patterns. Thank you to anyone who's bought a pattern, by the way. I really appreciate it. Even though it's only like a few pounds here and there, it's much appreciated. But what I try to do is I try to get more interesting patterns. So there's a lot of online Etsy shops that do vintage patterns, and you can often find the same patterns over and over again. So I'm trying my very hardest to find more interesting patterns that perhaps haven't been seen before. So I've got some patterns from Facebook Marketplace. I particularly got this bundle because they had some vintage, where are they? No, don't tell me they're not in this pattern bundle. Where are they? Yeah. Where are you? Oh, here they are. I was going to panic there. Thought I'd have to go into the other room, but I haven't got to. So I got these specifically because I found some vintage machine knitting patterns. Very exciting. So I have seen vintage knitting machine patterns for like the 1980s, but they're not very interesting. But anything earlier, I don't think I've even seen like 1970s knitting patterns. These are 1960s, and I can be fairly confident that might even be late 50s, to be honest with you. Could be from their hairstyles. But I'd say to be safe, probably more like 1960s. But I got a knitting machine from a charity shop about, I think it was last April, so not this one, but the one before. and it was £50. And I thought, well, I've never used a vintage knitting machine, or a knitting machine, should I say, less than a vintage one. But so I had no idea how to use it, but I just had to buy it because it was £50. And you can buy them on like Facebook Marketplace, and they're like £200-300. 50 quid, I'm having that, thank you very much, even though I don't know how to use it. And I like stripped the whole thing down, cleaned it all out, and then put it all back together. And I did this by watching YouTube videos. So there was one point where I had it all in bits, and I thought, oh my god, am I going to actually get this back together? But I did, thankfully. And I also belong to a a machine knitting community called the Machine Knitting Community. You pay a monthly like subscription fee, and it's a bit like an online learning forum. So they have like guest speakers, and they have like courses that you can do. So the courses tend to be for an additional fee because they are more like a taught class, whereas the speakers do like a 2-hour or 1 hour talk like once a month for like 8 months. So I did a talk series on shawl knitting by a lady called Sarah Etchingham, I think she's called. I'll check and pop her details down below, but she was so inspiring. She was so enthusiastic about her subject, knew so much. And so each month she did a different type of shawl. So there were like triangular shawls, rectangular, like the half moon type ones, circular, is that level? I don't know, and how to do that on your knitting machine. And so each month she'd take you through the techniques on how to do that particular shape, and then show you how you can adapt it to put like different patterns, different textures, different kind of colour combos and all that kind of thing. And it was so inspiring. I did start knitting a shawl, but I gave up because anyone who has a knitting machine will know they are quite temperamental beasts at times. And mine, for some reason, it was going great. I was going great guns, but it suddenly jammed, and like the tension went crazy, and I literally hadn't touched anything on the machine. It was fine, it was going great. And I've had problems in the past, and that's why the group is so good, because you can troubleshoot. If you have a problem, someone else has probably had that before, so you go on the forum and say, the machine doesn't work, and someone will help you out. But I had a problem with static build-up when my very first jumper that my only jumper that I've made on my knitting machine. I did a completely ribbed jumper. So again, probably shouldn't have done that for my first one, because the ribbing attachment is like a whole different kettle of fish. That they are quite temperamental, as well as the normal machine being temperamental. You have to have it at exactly the right angle and set up completely perfectly for it to work. It's a little bit like a sewing machine in that you have to have it like wired up exactly the right way, otherwise it just doesn't work. And it's like that with the ribbing attachment. And I did a land girl sweater completely in 1-on-1 rib for my first ever jumper, and I had this problem with my carriage kept jamming, and I was like, and it's because there was a build-up of static, and I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been part of the group. So as soon as I like put down, these are my settings, what am I doing wrong, it's not working, can you help me, it's just stuck, it won't move, the carriage won't move. And yeah, someone was like, oh yeah, that's static. So I then got tumble dryer sheets to get rid of the static, and like rubbed it all over the machine and on the yarn as well. So and then I didn't have that problem again, it worked fine. After like days of like at the machine, it was just as simple as like getting a dryer sheet. But anyway, that was a really long like ramble, wasn't it? But it means that I am interested in knitting machine patterns, and I found these on Facebook Marketplace, so I knew how to get them, with a heap of other vintage patterns as well. But they are just like really simple, raglan. This is a raglan jumper, and then I've got two which are quite similar but slightly different necklines for a raglan twin set cardigan and short sleeve sweater. And then this one I thought was quite interesting, socks, knitting socks on the knitting machine. So when you knit on a flatbed knitting machine, you can only do flat things, you can't do in the round. So you can get knitting machines that are circular. I don't have one of those, so this will be interesting to see how they've done it, whether you have to sew it up. Yeah, sew up the seams at the back of the leg and each side of the foot, and then press slightly. So you've knit it flat, and then you seam it, so a little bit like how stockings are, I guess. But I swear there is a way that you can do in the round on a knitting machine, a flatbed knitting machine, because if you have a ribbing attachment, because the ribbing does the opposite side. Hold that thought, I might make that up, but I'll ask the group, they'll tell me if I've made that up or not. But I think I'm probably going to have a go at doing this, just this really simple raglan sleeve stocking stitch jumper, because once you've done that, I've got a lace carriage, and you a little bit like the machine in the textiles museum that I went to when I went to, what was it called, the Cold Harbour Mill. The loom that has the punch cards with the holes that made the shuttles. I'm not explaining that very well, but you have a punch card system that you put the pattern in, punch out all the holes, and then that does like a lace pattern, or you can do colour work that way as well. So once you've mastered doing just a plain raglan stitch sweater like this, you could put, look, put ferrule here, put it around here. Well, that's one thing, it doesn't do yoked things. So a lot of Shetland people, they'll hand knit the yoke and then they'll machine knit, they'll attach it to the their machine knit and do the rest of the stocking stitch on their machine knit to make it a little bit quicker. So yeah, you could do a lace pattern all over if you have the lace carriage. I just thought it's a really useful one to have, and good for beginners just doing a simple jumper like this. So if you have a knitting machine, I'll try and get these up. It's going to be a while, guys, probably by the end of October. Where are we now? We're mid-September, so maybe mid-October. Be optimistic. If I do 2 a week, I can do that. But yeah, Facebook Marketplace is a great place for vintage patterns. So I've got all these patterns that I have scanned in. I just need to get around to actually, like I've popped this one up recently, and this one was quite fun. And it's a two for one. That one, I really love this yoke detail up here. Oh yeah, these ones, I've got to put these up soon. Little doggy coats, how cool is that? So everyone thinks that like dog coats are like a modern phenomenon. No, this, God, I can't age this because there's no people in it. But yeah, it's old. That's so cute, isn't it? And let me open it up and show the dogs inside because they're so sweet. This one doesn't look very like it's cooperating. Like, don't break the model. Okay, oh, this one's cute. Look at that. Look how cute that is. But I do have another dog coat pattern that was a sausage dog one that I had to buy. That was from a charity shop in town. So it was only like a couple of pounds, and you get loads of different patterns. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace. This one I've also put up on the shop because this one's quite an interesting one. See, this is what I mean by interesting. I've never seen this pattern before, and isn't it gorgeous? So I might actually knit this one in the future. This one I might do the blue yarn that I got from that knitting show I went to in the summer, the Cold Harbour Mill. I might do that because this is a double knit, I think. So it recommends their yarn, which I don't know what the modern equivalent is yet. But this gauge is a bit crazy. It is 7 stitches equals 2 inches. So that's like 3.5 stitches to the inch, which to me that would indicate more of an Aran weight yarn, like my skating sweater. That was 4 stitches to the inch, but it says double knit. Try a swatch and see if it works, I guess. Might just have to use bigger needles than the needles they suggest here. Number 6 and number 1 knitting needles, so that would be Old English. So I don't know what that is in modern, but yeah, Google it, I'm sure it will come up. I just thought that was a really pretty pattern, so that one's up on my shop as well. Not that I'm trying to get you to like buy anything, but please. I'm joking. So yeah, I've got lots and lots of patterns that I can be adding. I just got to find the time. And also Christmas is coming up. That's always really busy for marketers because Christmas is just mental in terms of like a lot of businesses make most of their money during Christmas, don't they? Oh, this one's nice. Little mittens and a hat combo. I just saw this one's quite interesting. A knitted mat and a knitted rug. If you want to have a go at making a rug. I did actually see Pearl Soho. They've got like a tufted kind of yarn that they suggested doing like a bathroom mat or something. So that might be good for that pattern. But that's quite nice. It's quite simple. But yeah, I've got heaps of these, so I will slowly work my way through them, I promise. There's a couple of men's ones, like, whoops, my battery buttons coming up. There are a couple of men's ones, like gentleman's like sporting jacket there. It's quite fancy. Oh, this lady, I'm sure I've seen this lady modelling before. The bustier of you guys. Let's see, what bust is that? That is for 42 to 44 inch bust. That's quite a good range, isn't it? It's got a nice stitch on it, that. So I will slowly work my way through those, I promise. Then the last, I didn't show you these. So for my knitting machine, I have these books to help me like do fair art, because there are certain rules on how to do it, even though it is quite easy. In order for the ends to be like tied into the ends, you need to figure it out anyway. These people are all on the knitting machine group. So this lady, Nick Cardigan, she's the lady who started it up. And so her book is absolutely fantastic, and she's a real driving force behind the group and is really, really on it all the time. I don't know how she does it. She must be exhausted. But this lady who wrote this book, she machine knitted her wedding dress, and it was amazing. I followed her on Instagram before I got her book. So that's like, she does all lace work and it's absolutely beautiful. So if you're after any machine knitting books to help you, if you're a complete beginner like me, and this guy, he did, Bill King, he did a series of talks on cables as well. And when you join up to the group, you get access to all the previous lectures and things, so that you can go back and watch them at your leisure. And the last thing I have to show you is that it wouldn't be a knitting podcast without some new yarn acquisitions. So I got these from a local charity shop, and I think it is genuine vintage, which was very exciting. So I picked it all up. It was quite expensive, £7.99 for that, £7.99 for that, and £7.99 for that. So that's quite expensive, I think, anyway, for like second-hand stuff. How much do I get in here? Does it say? 1 ounce. So I've got 4 ounces of the yellow, 50 grams each of, are they 50 grammers? could be. And so that's 150 and 150 of the cream. So these would be really good for like colour work stuff. But this one was the most exciting one because that's how I knew it was genuine vintage. Because it says so. It's got 3-ply Empress Mariner. So I haven't actually looked up the label to see if I can work out how old it is. But it's in old money, so 1 ounce instead of grams, so it was pre-decimalisation in the UK. So it's got to be pre-70s. And it's 100% wool. It's a bit scratchy, because it's British wool. Yeah, made in England. But I couldn't pass that up. It's a gorgeous mustardy colour, and I love this coral. It's like a pinky coral. If you compare it with this, it's a lot more orange. This is quite pink, whereas this is much more of a coral colour, which goes really nicely with the mustard. And then cream is always useful, isn't it, to use in a fair isle pattern. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I could not let that just lay in the charity shop. I had to get it just because I was so excited. I actually found some vintage yarn in the wild, because I always see people on Instagram like using like genuine vintage yarn for their vintage knits, and I can never find it. Like, I've tried eBay, I've tried Facebook Marketplace, and it's all like modern acrylic kind of stuff, so all like 1980s kind of weird stuff. So to actually find like genuine vintage in the wild is quite exciting. I just hope that was a little bit, oh no, it's only the end, it's a little bit snagged, but anyway, I think that's everything for now. Probably missed out some things because it's been so long, but I can always save that for next time. Hopefully it won't be as long as last time. I say that because I am with hesitation, because I am going away on a business trip. So that is a 5-day trip, I think. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, 5 days. And I'll be exhausted afterwards. So I have to mention I do have ME, so that's why I get so tired and can't do anything like updating my shop or doing YouTube videos, because I get too tired and I have to obviously prioritise my work. So that's why it's been a while. But so I'm going at the end of September on this business trip, and depending on how tired I am, it might be another month or so before you see me. It really depends how I react after that. But hopefully it won't be as long as last time. I might even do some shorter videos instead of doing quite such a long one. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and sorry for being so long about it. And hopefully see you next time, and let me know what you're knitting. If you've knitted any of the Tyrolean knits, if you've come across the same problems as I have maybe, or if you've got a workaround, and also how to block out my weird hunchy shoulders on my Halloween sweater. That would be really great if anyone has any tips for that, because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it otherwise. I suppose I could re-wet it and then put it on they're called hangers. Got the battery notice again. I could re-wet it and then block it on a hanger so that the weight of the jumper might pull it down and to the flatness of the hanger. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, have a lovely September, end of your September, and hopefully I'll see you soon.